So in this video, I'll be talking about furnace production. But before I start talking about furnace production, I want to distinguish between the short run and the long run. The long run is defined as a time period that at least one input cannot be changed. And when we use input in economics, we're talking about plant, equipment, and labor. For example, if I owned a company, I owned a barbershop, the long run would consist of a time where I can expand and open up a larger barbershop or more barbershops. So the input that would be fixed is the plant. So if I used an example at like a shoe company and I had a plant that was producing shoes, as long as I produced in that same plant, I'm considered in the short run because I can't change, or I'm not changing that factor of production. So once I'm able to expand to a larger plant, then that will be considered the long run. So by definition, the short run is the time period when at least one input, such as plant size, cannot be changed. A firm takes numerous inputs to create outputs. They combine those numerous inputs using technological production processes to create outputs. We classify production into two broad categories: labor, capital. Labor are considered the workers. Capital would be machinery, equipment. Here's the production function. The production function is the relationship between the maximum output, which is Q, and the quantity of capital, K, and labor that'll be used in the production process in some level of output. So output as a function of labor and capital is the production function. So production is any process by which resources are transformed into goods or services. Okay, so the definition on the PowerPoint says any activity that results in the conversion of resources into products that can be used in consumption. The production function specifies the maximum possible output that can be produced with a given amount of inputs. Insufficient firms and efficient firms will obtain less output from what the production function shows. It also specifies the minimum amount of inputs necessary to produce a given level of output. Average product is the total product divided by output. So it will be TP divided by Q. So again, average product is the total product divided by the output. Okay, so marginal product is the change in total product occurring when a variable input is increased and all other inputs are held constant. You can have marginal product of labor. You can have marginal product of capital. Marginal product is the output that is due to the addition of one more unit of a variable factor of production. Okay, so this is an example of calculating marginal product of labor. At 1 unit of labor, the total product is 50. The average product would be 50 divided by 1, which is 50. The marginal product would be the change in total product. So 0 to 50 is 50 units divided by the change in labor, which is 0 to 1, which would be 50. Okay. Now, if you looked at 2 units of labor, the total product at 2 units of labor is 110. The average product of labor would be 110 divided by 2, which is 55. And then in order to calculate the marginal product of labor, we would take the change in total product, which is 110 minus 50, which will be 60, divided by the change in labor, which is 2 minus 1. So 60 divided by 1 is 60. And that will be the marginal product of labor. So this is a graphical illustration of the total product with this relationship to labor. this is a graphical illustration of the marginal product. So notice both of these graphs are considered in the short run because plant size is fixed. Remember, if at least one of the factors of production is fixed, then it's considered the short run. It's the long run when all factors of production are variable. Now notice at some point you have diminishing marginal product. So at 3 units of labor, you start to have diminishing marginal product. When you get to 10 units of labor, you even start to have negative marginal product. So marginal product of labor may increase very rapidly at the beginning. Beyond some point, marginal product must begin to diminish as more workers are hired. That is not because additional workers are less qualified, but rather because each worker has, on average, fewer machines to work on. Okay, so for example, if I had a business and I only had 5 machines, when I first started hiring workers, there would be marginal product would be increasing. When I get to 5, at that point, marginal product is going to start decreasing because I only have 5 machines. Now, I could get to a point where hiring an additional worker would start decreasing my marginal product because some of the workers would start getting in their way. So I would start having negative marginal product. So up to 5 units of workers, my marginal product will be increasing. Then after I hire more workers than machines, my marginal product will start decreasing and I will have diminishing marginal product. Okay, so the law of diminishing marginal product is the observation that after some point, equal size increases in a variable factor of production, such as labor, will result in a smaller increase in output. In other words, beyond some point, marginal product must begin to diminish as more workers are hired. Eventually, the firm's plant will become so crowded that workers start to get in each other's way, and then we have negative marginal product. Okay, so that was the video on a firm's production. There's an additional video if you get the PowerPoint presentation and click on the link. The link also will be added below.